Hey, what's up? Chris07 here with Emergency 4 Tutorials, and today we are going to continue with part 2 of making an enterable building. So, truthfully speaking, the original project file that I had for this is actually gone now. So what I've done is I've actually recreated what we had before, so this should be exactly where we left off. So if there's some weird little difference, that's why. But there really shouldn't be any difference. So what we are going to do now is we're actually going to go ahead and begin modeling an interior. So I'm going to shut off my roof, and I can actually get rid of my doors as well at this time. Okay, so I am going to increase the size of my perspective view here. Hold down the Alt key and the left mouse button and move around here. So the general idea of what I want to do now is, if you can kind of see this middle axis here, I'm going to want to make a hallway that's as wide as the corner or the edge of this window and the edge of this window. And it's just going to be one long straight hallway from back door to front door. And then on the inside, it's going to be a division, so it's kind of like a two-room apartment. And essentially the other side is going to be the exact same thing. So let's actually go ahead and get started. So what we're going to need to do is going to create some polygons. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our Create tab, and we're going to create a single polygon. And the first spot we're going to do is we're actually going to go to this corner here, and I'm going to want to go into vertex mode. Okay, and that's going to allow me to select actual corners of polygons, and that's what we want to do. Now, when you're creating polygons, it's actually very important that you go from one vertex to another. Trying to freeform polygons is very difficult, and unless you're a little more confident in your skills, it's going to make your life a lot harder. So to make things straight, we're going to, as much as possible, go from vertex to vertex, so that way we can guarantee a straight line. So I'm going to select this top vertex on the window, and with my single polygon enabled here, I'm going to make a click on that. See this little red line here? That is where the polygon is going to be created, and we're going to want to connect that to a symmetrical point on the other side. And in this case, it is the top corner of the window directly across from the first. So we're going to do that. So that's only 2 points. Now, to make a three-dimensional polygon, we actually have to select multiple points. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the bottom corner here, and we're going to select the bottom corner here, just like that. And if I zoom in, you can tell I'm going for that corner because the polygon and the intersecting lines or edges will highlight blue. So I know that I'm actually going for that one as opposed to like that one, right? So just want to make sure that when I click, that the polygon that's attached to that that makes up that vertex is actually highlighted. Because if I was to be out here and not quite on and clicked it, then I would be in trouble, and I would have placed a free floating vertex, and that would just make my life harder. So I'm actually going to make sure that that is highlighted. Yes, I do indeed have that vertex selected, and I'm going to left click. And now we have placed 4 points. I could place more, but I'm not, so I am done placing my vertex points. So I am actually going to right click now, and that will create the polygon. So now what do we do? Well, if you notice, polygon on this side is solid gray, perfect, just what we want. But if we go to this side, it's transparent. What is that about? Well, the polygons are actually one directional. So if I was to throw this in game as it is right now, this would be all white, as we expect. But if I was to actually turn it around and see it from this angle in game, it would actually be transparent. So how do we fix that problem? Well, the easiest way to fix that problem is actually to create the same polygon, but from the opposite side. So what we're going to do is we're going to select that edge, to that edge, to that edge, to that edge, and then right click. And that technically should have created a polygon on the other side. I don't believe it did because ZModeler is a little tricky like that. So we might have to try again. But essentially what we're doing to overcome that issue is we're creating two polygons, one facing one way and one facing the other way. And that's how we get rid of that little issue. So this did not create. So let's try again, shall we? Let's try this here, 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 and here. And it still didn't work. There we go. So that did it. So now we have outward facing polygons on both sides. So now we'll be able to UV map both those surfaces, because you can only UV map one side of a surface. You can't UV map two sides. So you actually have to put one side facing out, one side facing in, and that way you can actually independently UV map the both, and that will get rid of that one-sided transparency issue. So now that we've done that, we can actually go ahead and do the same for the other side. So let's go ahead and do this window over here. And to do that move thing, again, that is the middle mouse wheel holding it down and moving around. Up here, and again, I'm making sure I'm clicking the right one, and that is the proper vertex. I can tell by the blue highlighting. And I'm going to the top here. And I'm going to hold down my Alt key and rotate the camera around with my left mouse button. And go to that one there. Click that. Good. So now I have to put the other polygon facing in the inner here, or the outer facing one here. So that way we can actually properly UV map it. There we go. First time. Got it. Okay, so now that we've created our hallway walls, now what we want to do is actually create a interior wall for one of these apartments. So what we can actually do, let me get a top view here. And what we can actually do is the exact same principle. So we can find a vertex or an edge along this wall that I can attach to, because I am incredibly lazy and I would rather just use the natural structure of this building to create a wall out of. So I like this one right here. So we will attach a polygon along this edge, just like we did the hallway, and we will attach it to, ooh, look, there is no anchor point over here. It is one solid polygon. So what on earth do we do? So what we're actually going to have to do is we're actually going to have to slice that polygon and create two polygons. One square poly to the left, one square poly to the right, and the division point being directly across from this edge. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to first need to select our polygon, and the easiest way to do it, especially when you have two polygons that are back to back together like this, it might actually be pretty hard to go around and try and select them in single mode, because it just gets hard. You select one, the other side looks like it's selected, but it's actually not. So since I have the ability to here, I'm going to use the quad tool here and left click and drag around the center of that polygon, making sure that I'm not touching any other polygons, and that should select them both. So perfect. So now what I need to do is detach it from this small apartment object and make it its own object. And the reason why I have to do that is because when I do the slicing operation will slice directly through every single polygon behind the slice line in that object. So if I take that wall and make it its own object, it's not going to slice through the wall on the other side and the outer wall as well. So let us separate this. I'm going to go to our Modify tab, and we're going to go to our Detach Polygon tool here under Submesh, and we're going to select it. And now we have created a separate object out of our wall. So I'm just going to rename this as, we can just call that Wall 1. And I will hit Shift D and deselect, and we are now ready to slice. So actually I should not have deselected it, so I'm going to undo and redo the selection. And what I'm going to want to do now is I am going to want to take a certain perspective that's going to make this easier. So this is the front. I am going to want to take a left-sided perspective view. All right. And if I recall correctly, I believe it is this edge right here that we are going to be slicing, or trying to create a wall directly from this perspective would be out of the screen and into the screen, right? So I'm going to take my slice tool, zoom in, And I am going to put these crosshairs right on that edge as best I can, just like that. And I'm going to hold my my left mouse button down, and I'm going to kind of make an upward motion like that, and you will see that red line pop up. Now I could rotate it just like that, right? And that's how I can rotate the cut, but I want it to be straight up and down, and that is how I will do it. And I will release my left mouse button and click, and the slice should have been made. So let's go back into our perspective view. Now let's look at our object. And as you can see here, this object is now 2 polygons, or technically 4, but it is now in 2 halves, right? So you have this smaller half and this larger half, and now we have an edge to attach our wall to. Perfect. So let's go ahead and start creating some polygons for that wall. So since we're actually done, what I'm actually going to do before I attach polygons is I'm actually going to reattach this wall to the main apartment. But before I do that, sorry, I'm just thinking of different things that I should be doing at one time, so I'm not going back and forth. Shows how prepared I am for this tutorial. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to cut out a doorway. While we're in the slicing mood, I am going to cut out a doorway. So let me hide the apartment. Okay. And I want to take let's go back to that left perspective. That's like perfect for our situation here. Kind of zoom in with the middle mouse wheel. And I want to slice a doorway. That is too high. I don't like that. So I'm going to right click and get rid of that. And I think the top of the doorway, well, let's say about right here. I think that's kind of where it is in the building. Let me see where it's at in the building. Trying to get the measurements is always fun. Perspective. Yeah, it's very small up top. So I'm going to go back to that left perspective. Gonna hide my building, and let's make that cut. It's gonna be about right there. That's gonna be about how tall it is, just like that. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm going to left click again, and that will make the slice. Perfect. So now let's make the edge of the door frame here, and let's make the edge of the door frame. Ooh, how wide do we need that door to be? Oh gosh, let's estimate. Let's say, too small. Let's say right there. It's a big door, okay? So that's what we want to do. That's going to be our door. That's going to be where we attach our wall to. And this is just going to be extra. So we want to keep that though, because that is part of the wall. So let's go back to our perspective mode. Just like that. And let's start creating some walls. Okay, let's start doing that. Let me see here. I am going to go to the Modify tab. I'm going to go to Attach. I'm going to hit this little corner options button here. I'm going to make sure that says Attach Children, Attach Multiple, Attach To, Small Apartment, Wall 1 is selected, and hit OK. So now that is now part of the apartment object once again. So let's start creating that wall. Let's go to Create, Polygon, and Single. And we're going to want to go into Vertex mode. And we're going to select this top vertex. And we're going to go to this top vertex. Good. And we're going to go to the bottom vertex. And then we're going to go to the bottom vertex on the opposite side. And right click. Cool. So that's one side. Now let's repeat the side, and let's get that polygon to show up on this side. And once again, we have to fight ZModeler to recognize that we are creating a vertex on this side and not on the other. Oh, ZModeler, you are a nasty mistress. What is wrong with you? Let's try this again, shall we? And it's always difficult because it has to do with your perspective. If you have a certain angle, it judges you as looking a certain direction, and for some reason... There we go. So, that's that. That's our interior wall, and what we can actually do is go through here and make our selection the same thing we did with the hallway wall when we cut the doorway out and made the slices. We're going to do the exact same thing here. Go to polygon mode. Shift D, deselect that. Quad the center of that. We're going to detach it. To modify, detach. Hit it. And we're going to rename that to something else and call it 0. And we are going to get our, let's see, our slicing tool. When you slice, it is very important that you take a very a low angle, right? You don't want to be in a perspective mode and take the slice, because it's going to make the slice according to how everything is in your perspective. So that's the reason I went to a left perspective when I made the hallway, was so that the cut would be nice and straight. So if I was to take a cut here, it would be not straight at all. So I'm going to take a front view in this case. I'm going to hide the building. And I'm going to make my cut. That's about right. Color about right there. Left click. That's sliced. And let me slice out another doorway. Slice there. And you know, I don't like that. Let me undo. Let's slice here. Slice here. A little more. Slice here. Good. Awesome. So we can actually go through and reattach this now. Attach. Attach children, attach multiple, small apartment, and we're going to select that to 0. Boom. So that is back to being attached to the small apartment object. Okay, so back to perspective mode. And that's weird. I don't know why that's transparent. So let's take a look. Let's go to surface. And we're just recalculate normals. Recalculate normals. Bingo, calculate normals. That can't happen. What's going on here? Take a look at the 3D object. Yeah, for some reason that side ended up disappearing, and I'm not sure why. So, oh no, and it's been sliced, so I have no idea what just went wrong. So unfortunately, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to create polygons for this whole thing, right? That's what's going to have to happen. It was there. Please tell me I'm not crazy. It wasn't there initially, right? But before, let's just keep going with this. Let's go delete. Let's delete where that door is going to be. Delete that. Delete all that. Delete that. And we have that doorway is now gone. So let's go to create single. Sorry, I do all this over again because this just got weird. Then this is the frustration that goes along with modding, right? You get all this nonsense. So I'm going to skip over and do that because I can just make a solid there. And you are going to be evil, aren't you? And people wonder why no one likes to model. It's this nonsense that gets you down. All right, so there's that. There is that. Okay, people do like to model. And there's probably something I'm doing wrong, because I am not the best modeler, but I am good enough to teach you little cool things. So, you know, just how it is. So let's do this little chingus here. Boom, 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 and please work. Oh, you would be evil like that. So you don't necessarily have to worry about it creating like a million polygons over the same thing. It won't. It just, there we go. I mean, you notice how like I did it the exact same perspective, and I did it once and it didn't work, and I did it twice and it worked. Yeah, let's just leave it at that, right? So that's good. That's done. So what do we do now? So we're gonna have to cut out this door. So let's go ahead and do that. So I am going to go to select, single, and let's see here, single, 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 polygon mode, make a selection, and as you can see, it's like, oh, it's selected, it's selected. It's not selected, trust me. So when I go to modify and detach it and hide it, call this, again, call that 0 because the 0 key is right there. And I do that, there's still a polygon there. So like I said, it's not. That's why I prefer to quad if you can, because of that issue. So we don't have to repeat this process twice. but we are going to. So I selected that. Make that selection, so that is now also its own object. Make that 1, and I am going to attach 0 to 1. And either one, I can do 1 to 0, really doesn't matter. But it is now one object. Perfect, Control D. And it's there. It's not. What just happened? There. It's not. What is going on? Select. Oh, probably I'd do the reason that one of them was hidden when I did it. So yes, welcome to Emergency 4 tutorials, where we learn as we go and we just kind of do things as we do it. So, yep, you are getting the full unedited version of doing this project, and it is awful. My apologies. My apologies, good sirs and ladies. So let's continue with this. Okay, so that's hidden. So I need to go into polygon mode. Okay, so this is still there, right? And then we're going to detach that. And that is now its own object. There we go. Oh, man. This is so much fun, right? This is why you join my videos and watch me do all this stuff. Watch me make a fool of myself as I do these tutorials. But that's okay. I make the mistakes so you don't have to. And that's the whole point, right? Saving time. Even if it's only your time that gets saved. All right, so that is done. So at this point, that's pretty much the interior. And on the other side, it's going to be the exact same thing. Now, the difference between a 40-minute tutorial and a 2-hour tutorial is me showing you every single thing I do and actually doing this whole process all over again on camera. I'm not going to do that. So if you want to know how to do the other side, rewind. It's the exact same thing from the opposite side. So the exact same technique is done on the other side, unless you want to do it your own way and kind of do it your own style. That's fine too. So as the one teacher that you had that you loved, this is your homework. I am giving you homework because I am a teacher that you love, and that's what teachers that you love do. They give you homework. So your homework now is to do the other side, because I am not going to do it for you. Well, I will, but not on camera. So stay tuned. We are going to have another tutorial. The next step is I'm actually going to go in and UV map this bad boy. UV mapping is not the fun part. The fun part is actually, the fun part is, was this. This was the fun part. Did you guys have fun? I did. So, before I let you go, the last thing is we're just going to, as a matter of formality, I'm just going to rename this so that it's good to go. Small apt door 03. And that is now set, and we won't have to do that next time. So, thank you guys for watching, and stick around for more Emergency 4 tutorials.